What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Bev Boys, your one-stop shop for all your energy drink needs and reviews. I'm Christian.
I'm Brian.
We are the Bev Boys. So today's episode, we got one little familiar drink for Brian, and then something that I found at the store the other day down here in the DR. It's not bad. It's something that you might find in the States. First time that I'd seen this flavor. I guess I'll just go ahead and unveil it right now. We got the FitAid. So FitAid Energy, they do make other drinks that don't have caffeine, more of like a recovery drink. You see these more often in like I would say like the CrossFit space or like kind of marketed as like a health energy drink, sort of like a Celsius almost. This is the raspberry hibiscus flavor. I have not tried it yet. Had a couple other flavors down here. They haven't been bad. Um, we tried a Fit Aid that didn't have caffeine in it before I left, and it was pretty bad. It was like a what was it, a white grape flavor?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
RX, so it was the
Yeah,
like zero sugar one too. I mean,
that's right.
it you could taste every like herb and dirt
It's like you're
root that
drinking
they
a
threw in.
hayfield.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't good, but I have a little bit higher hopes for this one. Looking at the can, they kind of do this gradient thing. I don't think it looks bad. Um, the FitAid, that's kind of their classic logo there. It does have 200 milligrams of caffeine. Like I said, raspberry hibiscus flavor. Sports recovery is what they're marketing it as. So it has caffeine from green tea, BCAAs, turmeric, which we could taste heavily in that last one, uh, electrolytes, vitamins, blah, 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 quercetin, CoQ10, omega 3s, and glucosamine. So some stuff for the joints in there as well. So it's a pretty well rounded as far as, like a health energy drink. Not sure if any of these doses are enough to actually do anything, but yeah, it is 15 calories, 4 grams of carbs. It does have 3 grams of sugar, or yep, 3 grams of sugar, so a little bit of added sugar there. So it is going to be a little bit sweeter. Still pretty low calorie. Not too mad about it. Bunch of vitamins. Again, 200 milligrams of caffeine. That is from green tea leaf extract. Also got some, glutamine, L-arginine, like the BCAAs, like they said. Um, yeah, it's a 12 ounce can, so a little bit smaller, but packs 200 milligrams. So I'm excited to try this one.
Should we pop that top?
Okay, top. Here we go.
Decent pop,
Decent pop. These aren't really
like
kind
super
of like
carbonated.
not, yeah, they're not really super carbonated. It's kind of like I'd say similar to like a Celsius. It has like a very light carbonation, so
Okay.
a little bit more smooth. The smell is, I don't know. You don't really see a lot of like raspberry energy drinks, honestly, besides Celsius. So,
And that's the weird thing is like I think raspberry is like an underrated flavor for like an energy drink. Like the I think it's like the berry blast from Gorilla Mine. I want to get my hands on that one for us so bad. But I think that's like a blueberry, blackberry, and a raspberry. But it's
right.
we'll get cherry's a big flavor, black cherry, or in my case, cherry limeade that I have from the rain here. I don't believe we've done the cherry limeade rain. I don't think we
I don't think
have,
so.
but like they never do berries and kind of in general. Like Celsius is kind of the only one that really rips through like the berry flavors, and now Fit Aid, but
Hmm.
it's
All right. Well,
I, undersold.
yeah. Let's go ahead and give this thing a taste. Pinkies up.
Yeah, pinkies up, baby. While you're tasting it, I did notice this. For some reason, on a can, when they do white with like that, the blue and the pink always looks great. It's the Miami Vice kind of colorway. It looks awesome. But when you do white with it, I almost feel like it cheapens it. Whereas if you had the black stripe instead of the
Black
white stripe
is.
of Fit Aid,
I agree. I feel like you got to go like a dark. Like when I think of the
because
Miami Vice, it's either like dark, like black background with the pink and
hmm
blue, or pink and blue like dominates it, and then there's hints of black. The white,
yeah,
not so much. but it is what it is. That's kind of their signature. They usually just have like the white stripe. Um, I haven't really seen one with a dark stripe or really any other color besides white, but
For some reason, I don't like the white with it.
neither
Maybe
do
that's
I.
just me,
Neither do I.
but I think the black would look better.
Yeah, for sure. The
But
taste is much better pop there on that rain. Um, the taste isn't bad. It's now remember it's raspberry hibiscus. Hibiscus is like a flower, right?
yeah, I was
Like
gonna
a
say
plant.
just how dominant is the hibiscus flavor on that?
You can definitely taste the raspberry, but it's a very like smooth flavor. It's kind of mellowed out a little bit by the hibiscus, but I'm not mad at it. It doesn't feel like I'm drinking a plant, which is
Okay,
good.
that's the
Um,
big thing.
yeah, it's it's one of those things where so like down here, this has been like a top tier energy drink for me just because I haven't really found anything that packs like a 200 milligrams or like a 150 or above down here yet at least. So this is I've been drinking a few of these, throughout the weeks, a couple other flavors. I'm trying to think of what flavors I've had. There's a mango sorbet and then a blackberry
Like
pineapple.
lemonade, right? Or blackberry pineapple, yeah. I've had the blackberry
Yes, that
pineapple.
one,
I did
yes,
like that one.
that one is solid. This one's up there. The mango is all right. This one
Hmm.
is this one's probably number one or number two out of those three.
I feel like
It's not something, yeah, it's not something that's gonna like wow you with like flavor, but it's not like terrible. It's not something that like I'm gonna gas. Like it's not like all so good that I'm gonna drink it all right away, which
yeah.
is, good and bad because it'll kind of last a little longer. It is pretty smooth. Like it does remind me a lot of like a Celsius, just with the can, the type of carbonation. They both have caffeine from like green tea, so it's a little bit smoother on the energy. And yeah, it's not bad down here. It's probably one of my daily drivers, but yeah, it's a lot better than that shit that we tasted before I left. But yeah, not bad. Raspberry hibiscus.
Okay.
I'd probably give it I'd probably give it again like a DR 8. So in reality like a 6.3 or something like that. I'll pick it if I'm in the States, I'll pick it up in like in like a big pinch, but I don't see myself drinking it outside of
Like, yeah,
yeah.
kind of seeking it out.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not gonna
dude.
stick this out.
That's one of those things with. I feel like with CrossFit is they're so the maybe this is me like trying to poke holes and looking at like hypocrisy, but like CrossFit is very it's all about your health and what you put in your body. You need to be extremely healthy. You need to do this. You have to eat only meat, only vegetables, and like a paleo diet. Eat this clean. Don't have like a regular energy drink like a rain. That's bad for you because they like claim it's only artificial. And then a lot of it just tastes like shit.
Yes.
Like regular FitAid's not great, and it kind
Yeah, I've
of
never made.
kind of bums me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like they tried to make Gatorade with a bunch of like health herbs and stuff like that, and it just ended up tasting like a bad like I don't know. You ever had like a cheap green supplement where it just tastes like a fucking hayfield?
Oh,
It makes you want to gag. Like,
I will say though, the the like shots that you can get at Whole Foods, my wife
those
and
are
I
good.
used to, my wife and I used to get them as like a Saturday thing because we'd go into Whole Foods and get like they had a really good coffee shop at our Whole Foods that was by our house. So we'd go in there get coffee in the morning, and then we would get those, and we'd get in the car. We'd look at each other like cheers them and just slam it. I would always get this one. It was like cayenne pepper, garlic, and like turmeric. That that one it definitely made you cough, but it was pretty good. And then she would get like the green one, and then it was like I don't want to say like an abusive relationship, but like she would go in knowing that it was going to suck and be disgusting, and for some reason she would just go right back to it and get the same one. And I'm like, hey, try something different. And she's like, no, it's gonna be good this time.
Yeah, I've never had the shots, but I've tried like the athletic greens, and those actually taste pretty good for like a green supplement. Like I feel like that's
Yeah,
about as good as you can get tasting wise for ground up vegetables and herbs and stuff like that. Like you can't expect it to taste like a fresh lemonade.
yeah. I think athletic greens are up there. The ghost one, I actually really like the ghost one.
Haven't had the ghost one
Um,
yet.
they had like three flavors originally. Now they have like an apple cider. They had a kiwi guava that I really liked. The lime was a little too strong. But the nice thing about the ghost ones is they had a Reds powder in it, and Reds powder will naturally be a little bit sweeter because it takes apple. You know, you have like the actual berries and antioxidants in there, so that
Kind
like
of
sweetness
offset a
comes
little bit.
through. Yeah, and I did like that one. I tried the BPN strong greens as well. I liked theirs because it was like a lemon flavor. Although
I've heard.
like yeah, it's still very like grassy kind of deal. But as far as like greens go, like I would say those like those are the only three I've ever had that I could truly stomach and be like, yeah, I can do that every day.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't tried either of the other two, but I've heard that they're pretty good.
It's just hard to at $40, 45, $50 a tub or an athletic greens case, it's like what, 80
Yeah, they're
for
expensive for sure.
for like a month serving of vegetables that you could just buy
Yeah.
the vegetables.
Yes,
Give me
but
the
most people
veggies.
don't want to buy the vegetable.
I don't know. Especially being around you and Gabe, I was not like I liked vegetables, but I would always just be like, ah, it's a little expensive. I'll just, forego it, whatever. I've gotten to the point now because of you guys, like I'm just crushing Brussels sprouts, broccoli, asparagus because I know it's like giving me food volume and it tastes good.
Yeah, that's like the one thing down here that like I'll end up buying at one of the things I end up buying at the grocery store because like there's not a ton of vegetables in Dominican cuisine, at least that I have noticed. Like it's a lot of like there'll be like beans and like the occasional like pepper here and there, but like not very often do they just like serve like broccoli or like a salad on the side like you would
Hmm.
see in the States. So that's what I've been, went to the store the other day and bought like some peppers and onions and stuff like that. That's the one thing that I miss is the McEwen salad bar in particular, not gonna lie. Top tier.
Unreal. I will say too, I've been really getting into like collard or like mustard greens so much. I think
I love
I had the best probably collard greens I've had in my life. There was a barbecue place towards Greensboro. I went there with the head strength coach for North Carolina A&T. We met for lunch. It's called Black Powder. Shout out Black Powder Smokehouse. But the collard greens, I was like, oh, I'll like while we were waiting for our like meat to come out in our burgers, I was just like picking at it, and I ate the whole thing. And I was like, this is so good. They
I
were
love collard greens.
they were absolute gas.
Yeah, I like collard greens. Have you ever had fried green tomatoes?
Oh yes, dude. Yes, unreal,
Those are really
unreal.
good too. You don't find them at as many places. Like collard greens are a little bit more popular with like a barbecue place, but I remember this
Yeah.
one place I went to in like I think it was in Tennessee. I was going on like a little trip with a couple of buddies, and we were in Johnson City, I think, at this barbecue place. I had them for the first time, and they were delicious. Um, yeah, that reminds me of there's actually this like gas station here that's like it's a gas station, but it has like a barbecue place inside of it. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of
Okay.
nice, and like the barbecue is actually like pretty good. Like had like some of their we went a few weeks ago. I had some of their like smoked chicken and like brisket, and like they'll have like all the regular stuff like andouille sausage, um, ribs, stuff like that. Even like chicken parm, like a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better places I've eaten at here. I was thinking about like what's like. when I do go back, what's like the first thing I'm gonna eat? I don't know. I've been thinking about that a little bit lately. I'm not really sure what it would be.
I've that's a tough one. Like, so when you do go back, it's like when you get home, right? When you get back
Yes.
to Iowa, what's the first place you go to?
That's tough.
Like, do you take a trip out to Des Moines and do you go to Zombie Burger?
Oh, yeah, zombie burger or Jethro's barbecue would be up there. But like,
Jethro's is
yes, I'm thinking for like, yeah, for local eats for sure. For like a chain place, it's not even like that good, but like I'm probably gonna go to B-Dubs. Like I miss like
really.
some, yeah, like I miss like some good wings. I don't know if it's just like the environment or the nostalgia, but B-Dubs, that and like a Dairy Queen Blizzard sounds good.
You're such a simple man, dude. I don't know. All right, you
Yeah,
fly back. You fly back into Elon. What's the first place you're going to?
Ferraras, obviously.
You
I
have
got to
to.
go Ferraras, and then I might have to hit Smokehouse Steve's. Honestly, that or like a Mykonos or a Moe's for the Moe's stack. Man,
Jake just hit the most stack the other night, and he's like, "Bro, this place still slaps."
it does. It's unbeatable.
Oh, we did a going away kind of dinner and everything for Matt, and put him and I went out. Kelsey came out with us, and we all had some fun. I had a I tried to be nice and picked up their tab, and then he immediately, of course, Matt being Matt, it's like no, like I'm gonna get you something now. So he ordered us these things called lunch boxes.
Oh,
Sounds disgusting. It was one of the best tasting drinks I've ever had in my life. It was Coors Light, orange juice, and then they take a shot of amaretto and they pop it in there. It tasted like an almond croissant.
hmm,
It was
interesting.
Yeah, it was insanely good. And I sipped it just to like see, and I'm like, it kind of like took me back for a second. I was like, it's such a weird combination, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I wish I drank more so I could add more to the conversation, but
You're fine. Trust me,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah. I'm trying to think of what. I don't know if there's like a signature drink down here. I know the beer is like El Presidente. That's like the big. That's like the
Yeah.
that's like the Bush Light of down here, essentially. Like everyone drinks it. It's like affordable. People like it. Trying to think of
What
what
was
else.
what is like the big import? Because I know in like Puerto Rico they're big on rum.
Yeah,
It's
I
it's got to be
think
like a rum.
I do see like whiskey and rum. Like I saw like Johnny Walker at that gas station the other day. I
Okay.
haven't like it's tough to say. I'm not really perusing that aisle very much, but they do have like I thought they have a Modelo Negro down here. Made me think of Greg.
He
I'm like,
sent me
damn,
a
I
he sent
haven't
me a
I haven't seen a regular Modelo, but I've seen Modelo Negro.
he uh he sent me a picture of a Modelo yesterday, and I was like, "No Negra," and he's like, "It
They
was
didn't have,
free."
oh, they
I was
didn't
like,
have
"Free
it.
beer." I just told him I was like, "Free beer's the best beer. Enjoy them." Um, Speaking of like kind of like weird imports and stuff like this, do you know what a do you know like the term the Buccaneer,
Like, as in
like
like a
Tampa
match.
Bay Buccaneers?
Yes,
Yeah. So Buccaneers was like it's a nickname or like a moniker for pirates.
right.
The reason that they get called Buccaneers is because they would like kill cows and stuff like that, and then they would make essentially cured meats or like jerkies out of that. And in I can't remember what country this originated in, but the language Bucan was like the term for like cured meats. So they would look at the pirates who were selling the cured meats and call them Buccaneers or Buccaneers.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, we
like
were.
the
Go ahead.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just like jerky boys.
Beef jerky salesman. There's worse things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my high school, we were the Buccaneers. That was our mascot, and like that was like our claim to fame. They didn't tell us about that. They just told us because we were like the only Buccaneers in the state. Because like Pirates is a pretty common like mascot, but Buccaneers
Yeah.
not as much. And they were like the story that they told us was like, oh, like Buccaneers were like the good Pirates. Like they would like
No.
try to stop. Yeah, it's like just to try to
They
make you.
were not make you
Yeah,
feel
so
good. They were
it's like
not good people.
yeah, like it's you don't have to lie to me, but
Yeah.
but yeah, that's dude. Speaking of like mascots, I don't really play video games at all, but I've been because isn't there like an NCAA football video game that's like making a return?
Yep. NCAA 25. I've
Okay,
got
so
a we've got a temporary idea for a league, and I think I have Nick on it with us. Like, yeah, I think
is
he's
it
in.
is it okay? Is it it's not out yet or is it?
It's it's not out yet. I believe it's coming out like late July or early August, but they're bringing back all the game modes from like the old ones. And one of the game
Like the
modes
dynasty
was
mode?
mascot mode. That was like a big thing from
Ah,
like NCAA 14, where like the whole team is replaced by the mascot that of the team. So like if you played at Stanford, you were like the tree.
that's sick.
It's
No, I
so much
was
fun.
yeah, I don't really play video games, but like I was it's interesting to like just look at different like teams and their mascots and like their uniforms and like
Hmm.
how like good or bad they are at football or like how they happen to be really good all of a sudden randomly and then went back to being terrible. And I was like, this post popped up on my Instagram about like the best teams that I'm gonna like rebuild on Dynasty mode or whatever. And like there's some teams where it's like I think Hawaii was one of them. Would be like a sick
Hmm.
one. It's just like
Yeah,
obscure location. They used to actually be like pretty good when
pretty good.
they had that really good QB back in the day. Um,
Zinging it
yeah, that was one. Boise State was another one because like obviously they used to be really good and the blue turf and everything.
with the Bronco, dude. Boise State used to be the team back when the dude. Remember when they had like Kellen Moore and Doug Martin,
Yeah,
and
dude,
they
they were
were
the group of five team. They were like the best group of five team. Um,
yeah, they were insanely good.
Sick logo. The Broncos sick. Their colors are sick in my opinion. The blue and
when they would
orange.
do when they would do like the full Bronco on the side of the helmet. That was so
Yes.
sick.
That's dope. I like that. Um, I saw like I saw one where it was like photoshopped obviously, but it was like a really like good like representation of what it would look like if it did exist. It was like, oh, I can't wait to rebuild Dynasty mode with the Alaska Nanooks or some shit. And like if you know much about like colleges, like you know that is a college, but they don't have a football team and they're Division
Yeah,
two. So it's just like a funny, I don't know. It was just a cool, I
they
don't know,
had
interesting.
there was like a press release, and they did like a fan vote, and unfortunately they caught like a stray, and Kennesaw State was voted the worst Division One football team this
Right.
year. And like then like and they took the story and they put it on Instagram, and if you swiped right, it like the headline continued, and it was like Kennesaw State number one pick in like dynasty mode for rebuilds.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw something about that too, because haven't they not have had a football team for super long, like in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, I
And now,
believe they've only been like a young team like a couple of years in like the making, and it's that's a hard thing to kind of build up, to be honest. But
especially FBS for sure.
like it's not that's not an easy task.
No.
But I don't
What do
know,
you think
could be
of,
sick. Anyway,
yeah,
you
what do you
sorry.
think like so like obviously there's like schools in all 50 states.
Mhm.
What Do you think they would ever put like an NCAA school in like Puerto Rico or like any of the other like US owned territories? Because I feel like that's not that far off from, because I mean, Hawaii's like out there. Like they gotta fly everywhere. Like
I
I'm
think it would be
surprised that they,
sick. Yeah, I think it'd
yeah.
be sick. I don't know if they would ever get like a football team, but like when I was down in Puerto Rico, they do have like a major university down there with the University of Puerto Rico. It's in San Juan, and like they do have sports teams. They have like a track and field team. They have like a basketball team. I think they have a baseball team. Sports like that, like they would probably be extremely successful. Number one, because like Puerto Rico, they love baseball, they love basketball, they love track and field. They probably don't do a football field mainly because environment and stuff like that. Like it's just there's no space to build it. But they would probably be dogs in some of those other sports because that's what like everyone grows up doing. So like they're like, I
Yeah.
want to go to the University of Puerto Rico to play baseball, and then they come in. Could imagine like Andrews like playing University of Puerto Rico in Omaha. That'd be insane.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. Like I feel like that's a big like money opportunity as well for someone, but
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I think a school in like Mexico City would be sick too.
Yeah.
Like that would be sick. Their their soccer team would be insanely good because like everybody plays soccer in Mexico. Like they'd probably have a top 25 team.
For sure.
I could
Yeah.
see
I'm not
I could see a like a Toronto or like one of those like Canadian schools and the bigger
yeah.
ones. Probably big in hockey.
Yeah. It gets a little interesting when you're talking about like other countries like outside of the US, but I mean,
Hmm.
they've done it in pro sports obviously,
Yeah,
so it could work.
and that's what I was kind of looking at. It is like you have the Toronto Raptors, you have Montreal Canadiens. Um,
Blue
I'm
Jays,
the Blue Jays, the Maple Leafs, like all those teams, like they play in like quote unquote like an American league. So I could see
right.
like having an NCAA school bring them into like their conference and then doing that just because that's a lot of money too for the schools.
Exactly. Especially with like being able to like essentially pay players now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's, I don't know, be interesting to see what happens.
It's kind of weird too because it's like that's I feel like that's kind of in 3 to 4 years that's really gonna bridge the gap between like a school like Elon and then maybe a development academy like the DR where like maybe it's not a ton of money that everybody's getting, but those players are getting money, right? And now there's like an investment on each side. So like if you made the transition from Elon to go to the DR with the Cubs 4 years from now instead, like would it be as much of as kind of like a shock where you're like, well, now everybody's getting paid, like there is an investment on everybody, and then we look back, like that could be the case for us in like 3 to 4 years of like, yeah, they're making some cash. Like I think we've started to see some NIL stuff happen, especially with like basketball. That's like a
Hmm.
big one with the NIL, and it's kind of cool to see like some of the players like get some cash, start to make a little bit of money, and like some kind of like brand for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because like obviously like the schools are limited in like their endowment and their boosters. Now, some people like schools like Texas or like Arkansas, UCLA, they have like boosters that like they'll never run out. But like Elon doesn't really have that. But these big companies that may sponsor NIL athletes have money to throw. So the kids are maybe more likely to stay at a smaller school
Mm-hmm.
because they know they have those opportunities with those other companies. Um, Same thing with like it's interesting with like baseball too. Obviously, like baseball doesn't have like a cap for like how much you can pay people, which is crazy. So like the teams that have a bunch of money. Like you could pay someone $1 billion if you wanted to. So when it comes to down here, like there's a minimum that they have to make, but that doesn't mean that they can't pay everyone a little more, which maybe potentially gets more people to sign with a certain team. And, I'm not sure how that would work, to be honest with you. That's more of like the business side that I'm not super knowledgeable of when it comes to like pro sports, but
I
who
I
knows?
I, I think it could change, and I like it's already changed a lot of the landscape for like college sports in general. I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but now the NCAA pulled away. They used to have a limit of like 86 scholarships for like football teams. In the past month, they've released that, so now there's no limit anymore, and that's because schools were able to basically come in and say, "Well, you're not a scholarship player, but we have an NIL booster, so you're going to get NIL money, and the NIL money is going to pay for all of your scholarship and then some." So it didn't really matter, so they circumvented it, and basically the NCAA was like, "Well, this is happening anyway, so we're just going to take the scholarship cap off."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that for both like all college football, FCS, FBS, all that?
That's where I'm a little bit unsure. I know for Power 5, Group of 5, like that's a thing now. I think it's bled down to FCS. I don't know what it looks like at the Division 2 level, to be honest. That one would be a little bit tough because that would really depend on like the schools. Like I know my conference had like a scholarship limit of like 36 in the conference itself. So I think it would be like maybe for the NCAA, but like the smaller organizations similar to like national and state government, like they could like put a extra restriction on it. So I think that'd be interesting to see again, like in 2 to 3 years, like what does this look like for the landscape, and how does that change everything for everybody? It's gonna be different for sure. It's just, is it gonna be good or bad?
Yeah, because I know like when I was at Sac State as an intern, their FCS obviously, and like the
Hmm.
scholarships count a little bit differently there. Like in-state players versus out-of-state players cost you different amounts. So like it's cheaper, quote unquote, to have people from in-state. I think it was like in-state scholarship is like point 0.5 or point 0.7 of a scholarship versus out-of-state was 1.0. So
Yeah.
um, that was interesting to me because I feel like at a certain point you're kind of limited by where the school's at because obviously like there's more recruits in certain states, especially for football, than there is in others. So like schools in California probably have a little bit of an advantage, but maybe not as much because you see like a lot of the FCS schools that are like at the top are like NDSU, SDSU. So maybe it's more about like picking the right recruits from like, out of state
That
and then just
perspective.
being smart with it. Um,
For um I think the big one with like California schools, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I very might be. I believe like all California state schools, they like heavily incentivize in-state kids to go to their school. So it's like essentially if it's a $50,000 a year school for me to go there, when I had a Wisconsin license and going over there, it was 50 grand. But for a California kid to go there, it was like 6 grand because they want all the local people to stay in local, and they would give them like free books and stuff like that. Like the scholarship is immediately like applied to whatever their base tuition is, and then they'll have their academic or athletic scholarship from there.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like pretty common. Like a lot of in-state tuitions generally lower than out of state, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
more because California just has so many schools in that like state school system. Um, like there's just so many like California state schools, so they probably have like a general, deal that they give to people, and it probably varies depending on certain things. But yeah, that makes sense.
That is a that's a tough thing to do because it's like I think like I know we had this. I can't remember if Iowa was part of the deal, but I know Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin all had reciprocity with each other. So if you were an Illinois kid going to Minnesota or Wisconsin or vice versa, you would catch in-state tuition at either of them. So it was really incentivized. So like that helped me like choose a college when I was going to school. Being a walk-on, like was I gonna pay 70 grand to go to school and have to take massive loans, or was I gonna pay 20 and be able to do
Right.
that? I think
Yeah.
Iowa was part of that, correct?
Yeah, I know it depends on like the school, but I know that
Mm-hmm.
because like at first you just kind of assume like if you go to a different state, you're going to pay the out of state tuition, but a lot of times, like if you're close,
Mm-hmm.
they'll kind of just like waive it or something like that. I don't know.
Did you have to do a an entry, like not an entry exam, but like did you have to write a paper for Simpson when you went there of like why I want to go to school here or something?
I can't remember. I'm not sure if I did, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe if I was going for some big smart person scholarship, they would have made me do that, but I was just regular Joe Schmo, so they were just like, I guess we'll let him in. Yeah. Did
He's
you?
got some cash.
Yep.
Uh Minnesota, I had to do a big paper for U of M. UW Madison, they were like really, really big sticklers. You had to do one for them. Concordia, which is where ended up going. I didn't like they just saw my ACT score and my GPA and they were like, yeah, you're fine. Like you're gonna get the president's scholarship or whatever. Like don't worry about it because I had like a 31 or 32 on my ACT and like my grades were good, so like it was easy for me to get into there. In comparison, which was so weird because I applied for like the same kind of programs at every single one of them, and the program that I applied for when I applied at CSP, it was a 3-2 program that I was basically administered into or accepted into Minnesota after my third year. So it was really funny that like Minnesota waitlisted me and then I got into Concordia, who then basically said, yeah, in 3 years you're just going to get into Minnesota.
Dang. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the schools that I applied for, it was just they were all like similar, like
Mm-hmm.
small, like private type schools where they mainly like just look at your GPA, ACT, and then like they tell you how much money you get off the tuition, and then
Yeah.
that's really it. Because I feel like schools like that, like they just need numbers, honestly. Like they can
Yeah.
be a little sticklers at bigger schools because they know that how many thousands of people are going to actually like apply every year, so they can control the quality a little bit more.
Yeah. They can kind of play with those. Just like when you get like, not a background check, but they look at it like, do you fit like our demographic of what we want in the school? Are we overloading and letting, we all know the politics when it comes into this. Like, are we letting too many of one kind of, I guess, like demographic in or not? And then do we have to like balance that? So I think that does play a bit of a role.
Yeah, for sure.
But my like one of my best friends in the entire world got into U of M first rip when he was going for his landscape architecture degree, and he got his acceptance letter basically like a couple weeks right after he applied.
Dang.
And I was sitting there and he told me about it and I was like, that's great. Like I still don't know.
Just feeling like a loser.
Yeah, you just feel like an idiot, dude. That was like the worst one. I had a buddy get into like pre-law at UW Madison and I'm just sitting there like an idiot. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then
You
like
ever
one of my yeah.
you ever notice like how many people like this was always kind of funny to me. I don't know if it's like just being mean or what, but like how many people come into college like saying that they're like pre-med and then almost none of them end up actually like becoming like a doctor like 2 semesters in they're like ah fuck this is way harder than I thought and then they're just like
They thought
ah
it was
like something like not like bad but like it's I don't know. It's how many people
no,
are
we
just like, oh,
had
I'm pre-med. Like, yeah, I'll be
that's
a
cool.
doctor. It's just like that. Like it's just gonna be easy.
Yeah, they don't really understand like how much work goes into it. Like when I went in as a this is the crazy part because again, like I was a mechanical engineering degree, but like my program was originally a 3-2, so I was going to get a master's in mechanical engineering, but my undergrad was going to be an applied mathematics major. So like
Hmm,
that's why I'm like I don't know, really good with numbers on that spectrum.
that's
um,
wild. I didn't know that that was your original plan.
yeah, so because the plan was when I went to school at 18 years old, which no one really knows what they really want to do when they're 18, but it was become a mechanical engineer, start to take over my father's business when I left school. But they didn't have engineering as like a major for like undergrad, so it was applied mathematics with an emphasis in uh, calc-based physics. So, which is kind of funny. But so I did like the I had like 22 credits my first year, and then finally I was like, I had a chem lab, and I really liked the science behind it, and ended up interning and switching to basically human engineering in, you know, kinesiology and then coaching athletic administration with an MS, like blah blah blah, and getting into like sports performance. But like I had people that were in my chemistry lab and they were all about being like pre-med. They were going to be a biology major so they could go be a doctor. And those people were like not to be a dick, but the worst people in like our bio lab, our biochem lab, like they sucked. Like they really wanted to be a doctor, but they didn't want to do what a doctor had to do, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I feel like people just are like, oh, like what makes the most money? Doctor, I'll do that. Not even like thinking about it. Like it's like that or like you probably see that with like lawyer as well. Like I was
Yeah.
never like it was weird. Like I was like a exercise science major all the way through, and like
Hmm.
I never had a serious thought about like changing it. It was just like I that's what I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but like I knew that that was the general area. I was just
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah. I switched my major. I remember I switched my major like after I think it was my either first or second semester in college, and I called my parents and I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I just don't want to do math for 3 years. Like this sucks. Like I was decent at it. I was good at it, but like it was so dull and just boring. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I switched it to kinesiology. And my mom called me and she's like, "The hell you are."
yeah,
She's like, "What are you gonna go do?" Like she's like, "What are you gonna do with a kinesiology degree?" Which respectfully, like if you only have an undergrad in kinesiology, there's not many options. It's mainly set up for, post grad education, whether that be a master's or a doctorate. And she's like, "You're doing business." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So all of my like electives and all that stuff, I just ended up hammering home like kinesiology and business stuff. And I got to like my junior year and I didn't have like any electives that were like fun, like pottery or anything like that, or like kind of like a mess off class for like what my major would have been. And then I worked in academic advising as like a front desk worker. So I would just talk to them about it, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And she's like, "Oh, you have the credits to double major." Sorry, Artie's coming in to say hi. So I just
oh,
ended up double majoring in my undergrad because I was like, "Well, I need to be busy. I want to do stuff. So what do I do here?" And just double majored. Careful, kiddo. I know. No Beagle Bandit today, but we do have we got the
oh,
big girl with us.
I already
Is it Christian?
got that 5 gallon bucket head takes up the whole screen.
She's got that dome on her. Yeah. Yeah, you didn't want to change at all. Like you kind of went in and you're like, "Yep, this is what I'm doing."
Yeah, pretty much. Like I thought I'd probably end up being like a personal trainer or something. Like I just didn't know any better. I didn't really know much. I just know I liked to work out and learn about like exercise and stuff like that. So that was really the only logical option. And then like I changed like my minor a couple times, but like ended up with like a sports admin minor. But there was really like the reason I kept like the reason I changed it is I just never found like anything else that was like super interesting. Like my sports admin classes to me were like kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I needed like is like I needed a minor, so I just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really had like a real thought about like, oh, I want to change to this, so I want to change to this. It was just like, I don't know, that just never occurred to me.
And this is what's really weird about you. And there's a couple things that are weird
I
about you,
was
but
gonna
that's why
say
I love.
there can't just be one.
uh, but like looking back at like internship stuff, like when we talk to young coaches and stuff like that, we ask them, like, do you like working out or do you like sports performance? Because those are two really different things. And normally, a lot of people who really like working out want to be a sports performance coach because they work in a gym and stuff like that. Whereas, like you, and it doesn't really pan out well. Whereas you were like, yeah, I really like working out. And you were that outlier that was really good at actual sports performance and coaching others and doing that. And then lo and behold, great intern, great coach. Now you're in a professional organization in a developmental academy. Like, I think you're what a lot of those kids like would strive to be. I don't know if they all pan out to be like you, but normally it doesn't work out like that. It's like, you know, that bodybuilding influencer, like just going hard. Like you had the separation of thought of like, well, I'm going to train myself this way, but I'm going to make sure the athletes train this way. And I can enjoy both and I can do both. But a lot of times it's really hard for people to separate that thought process. Whereas like they'll say, maybe they're a big conjugate guy because that's how they train for powerlifting. And then their entire sports performance program is them just writing powerlifting.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I appreciate the compliment. I think it's I think it gets a bad rap when it's like, do you just like working out? Because like I feel like you should like working out to an extent if you're gonna watch people do it all day and
Yeah.
write programs and like ideally be somewhat active yourself. But I think there has to be like a little bit more than that because there's people like in all fields that like to work out because it's a little bit different than what they do on the daily. And then I think just being able to,
Shut my door here.
'cause honestly, because honestly, there's like, I think there's something you can take from really from every sector of like exercise. Like, would I train someone exclusively like a bodybuilder, power lifter, this, etc.? No, unless they were doing that exact thing.
Yeah.
But like people like it's like S&C hasn't been around for that long, and really like if you look down to it, like there's like principles that have been taken from powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit now, even nowadays. Like you can take a little bit of something from all of them and kind of meld them into your program if you just know where to put them, you know, how much of them to put. Like, I don't know. Like you could argue that like we use like powerlifting techniques when we work, I don't know, like maximal strength. We could argue that we use like bodybuilding techniques when we work like, I don't know, early off season with the team. So I think just like being open to all of them and not getting like defensive and having an open mind as far as like not like looking down on people that just power lift, not like
Mm-hmm.
or like putting something on like a pedestal, like knowing that you can take a little bit of something from each kind of like sector, and then also like having, you might train yourself one way, but that doesn't mean that's like, I might train for something. That doesn't mean that my athletes train the same way. Like the same thing with
Ex-
like Nick, like he loves CrossFit, but that doesn't like he doesn't do CrossFit with the freaking football team. but he does
Yeah.
like, I mean, he's taken, like with the sandbag stuff, that's something that you can take from one, area, for example, like CrossFit, and still have it like apply to something like football.
Dude, speaking of sandbags, we got some new ones.
Really?
We got a 250-pound sandbag.
Oh boy.
Watched a sophomore wide receiver, very very light kind of guy. Grab it, bear hug it, and do a sandbag carry down and back like it was nothing. I was watching him. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, dog, that's a dog mentality.
That's sick. That's one of the things I miss from, like, I wish we had some sandbags down here.
Hmm.
Not even for like the kids, but like for my own personal training. Like the sandbags are just kind of like fun to like mess around with.
Yeah, it's just a weird implement,
Yeah.
and like I used to love doing them with Andrew. Like we would do like a bike and sandbag workout where it's like, hey, we're gonna bike 500 meters. You're gonna hit 5 sandbag cleans, and just kind of go back and forth. I remember that one. Like I remember doing that one with him in the summer last year, and we ripped the bike, and you're like, oh, it's pretty easy. And then as soon as you grab that sandbag, your heart rate just spikes.
Yes. No, I miss messing around with the sandbags and stuff like that. Um,
Those
yeah,
weird implements are just a fun thing.
yeah, I know. I wish we had a little bit more of them down here, but we don't really need them to be honest.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of like other weird implements that aren't like super conventional. Obviously you have like your safety squat bars, your Swiss
Right.
bars for like bench and stuff, but
I like,
sandbags is one of them.
yeah, it's not really unconventional. Like they get used a lot, like sleds, prowlers. Like those are fun to
Mm-hmm.
like mess around with. I've been liking even like we have the run rocket down here, like cranking up the resistance a little bit higher and like just like that's kind of like a sled pull almost if you like crank up the resistance enough. Walking forwards, you can do marches, walking backwards, you know, doing like a sidewards like march, stuff like that. That's just
Yeah.
kind of like mess around with for like your own training, in my opinion.
We've done it for some early off-season conditioning with like the line guys. Like we don't have a run rocket because we don't have necessarily the same money as you, but we do have the Exer Genies. So we've
Right.
cranked up the resistance on that, thrown like a what's that strap over them so they could like belt in, and like
Hmm.
a push to move or like a lateral crossover kind of march. Like it's just nice to get him in an unconventional position and in like three-dimensional movement with resistance. And it's like, hey, you got 20 seconds of marching, go hit it. You're gonna rest for
Right.
40 seconds and go back. I don't know. I'm a big fan, big fan of them.
Yeah, I like that stuff as well. I've been wanting to see if there's a way that we can kind of integrate that down here.
Hmm.
With like the time we have, it might be like more of an off season thing, but we'll see.
I think it just helps too. Like if you can expose them to more in training than what they see in the game. I looked at it a lot of the same way as like training like sprinters. Like yeah, everything we do is mainly like in that frontal plane. Like we're just going through. But if I have them exposed to three-dimensional movements, then if God forbid something goes wrong and they get exposed to that in a race or whatever, they're going to be prepared for it and it's not going to cause an injury, or at least the injury is going to be very minimal in comparison because we were able to expose them to that and now they're prepared just in case.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You guys have
Yeah.
a game this week?
Yeah. So today's Sunday. We're recording this. It's the off day. So we just got done with our second week of in season. So we got our in season schedule is games Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 5 games a week, one completely off day, and then that Wednesday is what we call like a camp day. So no game, a little bit of a shorter day. They'll still do like a little bit of training, but it's a pretty light day for, players and staff, which is kind of nice because those games get
Hmm.
um they can get pretty long. There's no pitch clock down here. I know they like implemented that like in the MLB and like the higher levels, but no pitch clock is can make for some longer games, and especially like sometimes it can just be bad baseball at times, unfortunately. So we've started by playing 7 innings until we can like pretty soon here our pitchers will have been like kind of ramped up to go 3 or more innings, which is the ideal. Like I think one team has played a 9 inning game, but even those 7 inning games, like they can take 3 hours. Like that's a long time. And the other day we had a 7 inning double header, and that took, I think we started at 10 and got done at about 3:30 or something like that. So that makes for some long days. But that's the grind of in season. So yeah, back at it tomorrow with the games.
Love it. Love it.
So, but luckily there was I mean, the first week of the season there was a lot of rain, had to get a lot of delays, had to like push a game back. This week it seems like we have one rainy week and then one week where the weather's like perfect. So, I don't know if we're due for another rainy week or if hopefully the weather will stay nice. 'Cause it's always hot. It's
Yeah.
either hot or raining. There's no in between, but I'd rather have it just be hot and be able to play the games because we can't just like cancel the games. We have to play a certain amount, which is why we had to do that double header the other day. Because we had to we
Brutal.
yeah, exactly. So would like to avoid that. So
Dude, I know I'm getting way off topic here, but every time I get on, I forget to ask you this. But what is going on with the painting behind you?
the painting,
Yeah.
this guy. So this is just get a little surround view. It's just, I mean, there's another one over there by the couch. It was just here when I came to the apartment. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's what you call like abstract. Um, I don't know if you've ever been to an art museum. I've been to like
Yeah.
two, which is two more than I needed to go to. Like it's not my setting. Like you just look at some stuff like this and the like,
What are your thoughts?
yeah, and it's like I don't know. Like my thoughts are anger because someone made a lot of money off doing that, and like, I think so. Yeah,
I
there's a
don't
couple.
hate it. I'll say
Yeah,
this.
it's
Uh,
it's a not a bad painting.
yeah, I don't hate it. I think I would spend a good $50 on it to fill some space and get some color.
Yeah,
But
no more than that though.
judging by it's an apartment complex and it was put in before you, so I'm assuming it was like a furnished apartment.
Yes.
Someone
So
paid some cash for that. And if that's the case, we might have to just do a Bev Boys art sale and see if we can get some funding.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big decoration guy just because like I don't know like how long I'm gonna be at the certain place. Like if I knew I was gonna be there for a long time, I might spend a little money, but like
Big sim
I don't have
big simplicity guy.
yeah, like I don't have a problem with just the white walls, you know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Eh, all right.
But
58 minutes, 30 seconds right now. Absolute
yeah,
banger. Another
yep.
banger. We did this. We did it, brother. Let's get a recap on your review real quick and then I'll give mine and we'll close out.
Yeah. So we got the FitAid raspberry hibiscus flavor, 200 milligrams of caffeine, pretty solid ingredient profile, low calorie, are a few grams of sugar, but nothing to be concerned about. Only 15 calories total. The taste is unique. It's pretty smooth, low on the carbonation. Again, I give it a DR 8. So in reality, in the US, it's closer to like a 6, 6.3. So not bad. I would probably buy it again down here just because of the limited options. It's a good dose of caffeine, green tea as the source, so it's a little bit smoother, which I do like. So not bad. Can is good, but it could be better. That's
Alrighty.
right.
Obviously, rain. We know rain. What kind of can it is? Cans always look sick. Cherry limeade. I'm gonna say this is the second best cherry limeade flavor, solely behind the Ghost one because the Ghost one really makes me think of like Sonic cherry limeade. I know they didn't do like a direct partnership, but it's so close to the actual flavoring of that. 300
That's right.
milligrams caffeine, 10 calories, zero sugar. Like it's very, very good. high stim. Like you're gonna grip it, you're gonna love it. This is like a daily driver. I'm going 8.6.
Okay.
8.6 on the Rain. I get it's a phenomenal drink. I think it just gets edged out a little bit by the Ghost one by having some of the a little bit more of a flavor closer to that Sonic cherry limeade, which I absolutely love as a flavor, and then some of the nootropics that are in the Ghost one. But super solid 8.6. I'd suggest picking it up for anybody that wants it.
Yeah, no, rain's solid. I like a rain if I just want to get freaking red line my system. Like don't need to like worry about having a crash. Like I just want it for a workout. Just 300 milligrams to the
Straight to the
dome.
dome.
Yep. Flavors are always solid. Yeah.
All right. You want to close this out?
Yeah, guys, make sure appreciate you guys for watching this episode. Follow us on Instagram at what is it? Underscore Bev Boys underscore. Um, should come up there. French underscore Fit 40 on Instagram for myself.
B.
B
Shakusky.
B Shikuski. For that one, posting on Instagram a decent amount more about sports performance, a little bit less about energy drinks. That's what the Bev Boys account is for. Go to bevboys.com, get yourself a T-shirt. Always thinking about new designs as well, and we'll continue these weekly recordings. And yeah, you guys have any suggestions down below on drinks that you want to see, um, or even like anything else? I'm a little bit limited to what I can get down here, but I have seen a few, more American products, once in a while. So let me know. Appreciate you
All
guys for
right.
watching.
We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace. Fuck yeah.